We have calculated good time, that this is more than double the time you require to reach a place. You go somewhere, you find there's an accident. 10 hours on the road. Do you turn back? Do you do this? So let us not rush emotionally and say, hey, we will punish people, or we will see what the principal did, what the headmaster. That is a wrong way of looking at it.
We need to find out what the details are. Michael Agwanda, recently we had a report of the most dangerous roads not too long ago on the dailies, and it indicated that in 80% of, or rather a good percentage of the road accidents that we have are actually down to human error. And this could be another one of those cases. One of the things that we have not been able to deal with, despite the fact that we have police on the roads constantly, is the issue of bad driving, bad manners on the road, which costs lives.
I agree with you. There are only three reasons why there's so many accidents in this country. One is human error. Our drivers are very indisciplined. And that's the truth of the matter. You can see it in Nairobi, you can see it on a highway, you can see it. Most drivers are very indisciplined. And most drivers are also very, they're always in a rush. And you're wondering, but if you are in this rush, why didn't you start 3 hours earlier? Second thing that is killing our people on the road is the cops. And that I will say without blinking an eye. Because the cops would rather stop a motor vehicle and just check on your driver's license and not necessarily the condition of the vehicle. They may not have the expertise to do that. But what happens after it, once you bribe, you go. And you could be having no tail lights, and it's at night, nobody cares. You could be having only one light at night, and you've seen so many of them, and nobody cares. And the cop will not stop you and tell you, you got to put this vehicle aside because nobody can see on the road, you have no light. But instead, let me have 1,000, and you go, make sure you fix it. And the guy will still drive for the next 1 month. Number three that we cannot resist in this country is our roads are bad. And we have to agree that what is contributing so much into the accidents in this country is bad road, and not just bad road, but also narrow roads. And then you have this group of people that you will tell them, like the trailers, that you cannot drive up from this time to this time, and they will violate it anyways without any problem. Now, when you look at the schools mostly are having just one driver. And those one drivers sometimes are so tired and so fatigued, they will go to Mombasa and the next day they're expected to go back to Kisumu. You have the trailers. Most of those trailers are only having one driver with a turnboy and is driving for days and days. No rules as to how long you need to be on the road and when you need to stop. And even if those rules could be there somewhere in the files, nobody follows it because nobody is standing on the road to check. In the Western countries, you only have X number of hours, especially in the US, to drive. And when you reach a place, there's a resting place for you that you have to rest. And you have to rest, and then you continue with your journey. If not, another second driver has to come in. And so we are talking about all these rules that are being created. And I agree with my colleague here. These rules are not implementable when we do not engage the service providers. We do not engage the schools and say, if this person is going for a long trip like in Mombasa, why don't you hire an extra driver for that day? If this guy is going all the way from Mombasa to Kigali, why don't we make sure that the only place you can do is maybe Mayo, and once you stop there, somebody else check. And we want records for that. Who looks at this record other than, come on, the police stops you and check, do you have a driver's license? Umebeba ngapi leo? Or it is 50, yoni kidogo sana, ongeza kidogo, and then you move on and life continues. This guy is going to kill people because he's not able to concentrate.
And he's not let me just pose a small question. In your wildest imagination or thinking, have you seen any institution in this country that trains people how to drive the big trucks or the big buses? Have you seen?
None.
So where are they trained?
On the road, I guess.
By who? You can see where the problem is not at the accident. The problem is we don't have these schools. We don't have people qualified to train. Our system of examination is wrong. And all these things add up. You ask the minister, I say, Bonnet wants to arrest people. You ask him, Mr. Minister, there was a truck involved. Do you know where the drivers are trained? Have you ever inspected the schools? Do those schools have even one track they use to train? No. Do you know where bus drivers are trained? No. He doesn't know. He has no idea. So he'll go there. We'll arrest people. Madness. You don't have to say anything.
All right. And I want us to wind up with another story that is interesting here on the front page of the Daily Nation. Muturi wants MPs to table World Cup special reports. Now, we have a number of legislators that went to Russia on a benchmarking exercise. And, of course, Kenyans went crazy on Twitter, you know, basically criticizing it. But it looks like they had a point based on this. And the reason why the Speaker of the National Assembly is asking for the report is 1 month on. There is no report on what they have, what findings they found, if at all they have any. Michael Agwanda, our legislators off to Russia, it looks like they just had a good time.
My friend Honorable Kaluma and I were in a funeral in Homa Bay a couple of weeks ago, and he was telling the people, not a funeral, but Arambe. He was telling the people that were in the Arambe in the school that, you know, I was away because I'd gone to watch World Cup. And I think let's leave it to that extent, that they had gone to watch World Cup. I don't think they were there on official duty, because if they were there on official duty, they would have definitely written a report. But some of them even alleged that they actually went there through their resources, that they did not take money from PAC or from Parliament. And so truly need to come out very clearly and tell us, we gave you the money to go to Russia, and so we need a report. If we did give them the money, then I don't see the report coming out. But if they gave them the money, then the Kenyans will definitely need a report. And I think benchmarking is a good thing, but we also, I believe it's a good thing. It's just that it's been taken to a different level altogether. I mean,
I think for Kenya, benchmarking means a totally different thing.
I have Homa Bay MCAs that have been taken, the entire crew has been taken to Tanzania, you know, to benchmark. And somebody asked a simple question, you mean that there is no hotel in Kenya where you can benchmark? You know, now they've moved to another country, and before long they will be in Asia and other places. The truth of the matter is, I think when you go for such a function as a learning process, my question will be, yes, what are you learning when our studies cannot be finished? And the promise in the first term of Jubilee government was very clear that in every county there will be a stadia that will be built. And we just lost an opportunity here just a few months ago when this country would have hosted the first world youth event that was coming to this country. And because our studies were not yet done, they move it somewhere else. And so when we are talking about members of parliament going to Russia to watch football for benchmarking, and you can't insist and oversight the government and say, we need this stadiums built, then you wonder the...
All right, whether I need your very briefly, because we need to take a short break before we come back to the wages.
When you look at the scriptures, Jesus Christ said, don't worry about clothing, dressing, food. He said, seek first
the kingdom
of heaven and its righteousness, and then all these others. What he was simply saying is that in life, you must have priorities. Priority number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4. And then when you have scarce resources, you put them in order of priority. Kenya, we can do every benchmarking on everything, including how to hold spoons, and how to hold foxes, and how to eat, and how to dress, and we can do that. The question is, we put them in order of priority. Do you think, against the background that we have very little money for the judiciary, we have more money to send our MPs to go to watch World Cup, which we have no chance of holding in the next, I don't know how many years. You can see that what Mugabe would say, witchcraft is real if you talk about parliamentarians in the Kenya. And then the speaker says, give us a report. Overwatered, we have very many outstanding serious issues.
Pause you right there. Please do get yourself a copy of The Standard and The Nation this morning, specifically The Standard, to get your story, Millions Risk Blindness in 4 billion drug standoff. And, well, that brings us to 4 minutes to 7 o'clock, where we now want to say goodbye to our KTN Home viewers. Life and Style is going to begin. But on KTN News, we take a short break. When we come back, let's look at matters politics and the way it is right here